Last week, the government released its exposure legislation about the reinsurance pool, or its draft laws about the reinsurance pool for cyclone-prone areas. What was your overall response to that draft legislation?
Well, look, sure welcome to the release of it. As you'd appreciate, we operate in the area and we're trying to get people a better deal, and anything we think can give people a better deal, we would welcome. Still a lot of detail to be dealt with, but and we'll work with that with the government, as we have been now for some months, providing all the information we could to help.
Do you think it will actually work to give people a better deal? I mean, that's what it purports to do and it aims to do, but in terms of the mechanics of it, will it actually function properly?
Well, it's hard to say at this point, because while there's some information being released in the draft legislation and explanatory notes, we don't yet know what the actual premiums will be and whether that will actually save people. And this is where Shaw has some concerns around what we call the no disadvantage test. And what we want to make sure is that if the pool charges a higher price, we want to make sure that Shaw can still continue to charge its lower price. So we're saying we don't want to be forced to give a higher price to our policyholders if the pool is a higher price.
Were you expecting to know more about how much people would be able to save on their insurance premiums in this legislation?
Look, we would have liked to have seen some more detail. You know, it's always good to get more detail, but the government's been working to a pretty tight time frame, and I know they've been working very hard on it. So I think the message is, as soon as we can get further information on the effect on policyholders' prices, that's what we want to see, because that's what policyholders and what customers and people around regional Queensland are waiting for. Just how much are they going to save is the question, and we want to make sure we get the best deal for those people.
The government says that, as you've said, they can't say just how big those savings will be. But according to Michael Sukkar, he says those savings are higher than projected. But no modelling has been provided, from what I understand, to support that claim. How have they explained that to you?
Well, we haven't received any explanation or any numbers or any detail of that whatsoever. And if the pool had some numbers that they can share, we would appreciate that as soon as possible, because that allows us to start doing our numbers and working out what the best deal for policyholders is. So I think the sooner they share the numbers they've got, the sooner we can all get on with this and make this a success.
Is this how much of an influence is this legislation on your business, Bradley?
Look, it has an influence. I mean, we're a specialist regional insurer in the area that the pool operates in. We were formed to provide a difference to policyholders, and that's what we're doing. On average, we're $1,900 cheaper at the moment than the rest of our competitors. That's on average. So sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. So what we want to make sure is that those savings continue to be able to be passed on. And if the pool requires us to pass on additional premiums or increased premiums, then we're not going to be very happy about that, and I'm sure our policyholders will be even less happy.
So where to from here then? What are the next steps for you?
Well, the next steps for us is to evaluate the impact of it as soon as we get all the information, and we're providing a response to the draft legislation at the moment, which is due at the end of next week. We've got a very clear view on what our response will say, and we've already shared that with Treasury earlier in the week. So this is about getting all the information and all the reactions from all of the insurers and all of the other stakeholders and getting it into the legislation to make sure it is the very best outcome for policyholders that we can get.
Do you have any more that you can share about what that view in your submission will be?
Look, the view will be around some questions. And I think what we'll be doing there is pointing out some of the design aspects, particularly around whether insurers still need to buy reinsurance because the pool may not necessarily cover the entire gamut of what insurers currently cover. So this is part of making sure that the price savings are realised in the process as well. It's also getting clarity around what policyholders are and aren't covered for by the pool to make sure that there's no gaps in policyholder coverage. So this is all about making sure that the price reductions are realised and that policyholders are not disadvantaged either on price or on cover. That's the main responses we'll be making to the government here.
Okay, and there's the government only gave 2 weeks to make submissions. Is that really enough time to get clear messages across, particularly at this time of year?
Look, it's a short time frame, but I think the people in regional Queensland are waiting. They don't want to wait any longer. They've waited a long time. We're just going to have to work hard to go and do that. There isn't as much information from the government as we would have hoped at the moment. So let's respond to what's there and let's keep the process moving. And the sooner we can get more information in the new year, the better. There are tight timeframes with sitting days available before the next election dates and the options there. So this is just something that's compressed and we're just going to have to get on with it, I think, and that's what Shore's attitude is.
Are you hoping that those sitting days will be used to discuss this legislation?
Well, we hope so. I mean, I think it's something that's a very important piece of legislation. And as we say, at the end of the day, this is about the policy holders and getting them the benefits. And as long as we retain those benefits and make them better than what they are now, that's what Shore's focused on. What we're focused on making sure is that this doesn't inadvertently give policy holders an increase in premium in the process. So that's the thrust of this, I think, from the entire insurance industry.
Okay, then given that this is a mandatory pool to join for insurance companies, smaller ones a little bit later than larger companies, what does that mean for you?
Well, that's something we ask the government to consider in the design. We don't think it should be mandatory. We think that if an insurance company can charge less than the pool and wants to charge less than the pool, they should be allowed to continue to do that. And that's what our central concern is at the moment, is to make sure that if Shore is charging or anyone else is charging less than what the pool is, that the policyholders continue to get that advantage. Otherwise, they're going to be disadvantaged. And I think, I don't think that if people get an increase out of the pool, that would pass the PUP test.
Yeah, okay. So then what's the rationale then behind making it mandatory? Is it so that people kind of have to comply with the pool and can't keep charging huge premiums?
But I think the rationale is to make sure that the pool gets enough premium in to be viable and to make sure that insurers don't put all the worst risks in there and keep all the good ones for themselves. But our view is that, because Shore is providing such premium savings, and in the vast majority of cases our prices are lower. So what we're saying is, if you can charge less as an insurer, you should be allowed to do it. Otherwise, the policyholder is going to get an increase that isn't really fair on that policyholder.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, Jade. Thank you very much.
Have a good day. See you. Bye.
You too.